This one in Vegas is getting very weird. Active duty, Green Beret. Wife dumps him. He did several combat tours. There's talk of PTSD. He rents the truck. He drives to Vegas, pulls in with a bunch of fireworks wired up like a bomb. They say he killed himself with either the 50 cal pistol or the 308 that he'd turned into a pistol, and then the truck blows up within seconds. That's what we hear. Then they release messages that they have, and he's talking about Americans need to wake up, and he's doing this spectacle so we will wake up because the government's corrupt and America's corrupt, but we're a great country. Then Sean Ryan on his podcast released an email that he says he got from this guy the day before, and he's claiming he's doing this big explosion to make a splash so Americans will pay attention to the drones because he believes the drones are being flown by China and that America's covering it up and that our own government's after him and he's fleeing to Mexico, but instead of fleeing, he decides to blow himself up to make a spectacle. I don't know what the hell to believe, but something stinks in Denmark. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Okay, so as you're saying, going through all this stuff, I'm thinking through it. And one thing is, when I read that manifesto, I didn't see in the manifesto him, and maybe I missed it, but I didn't see him saying he was going to go blow himself up. I saw in there that he says that they better not approach him because he has a truck full of explosives or a big bomb in the truck. Mm-hmm. But he was going to Mexico. And you know, as you're reading that, what dawned on me is the fact that he did his attack or his explosion after what happened in New Orleans. And I'm wondering if this guy might have been heading to Mexico on a mental break, like he had a break. And when this occurred down in New Orleans, if perhaps his delusion was telling him, now's the time, you got to make a scene of this, and he went there. I mean, perhaps that's what occurred. I don't know, but the other thing that came to my mind is I'd like investigators to find out is how many veterans use the Turo app, because I don't know anyone that does. But perhaps this is something that MWR or something in the military has passed around and people are using that. That's the only other way that I can explain that these two individuals, New Orleans and Vegas attackers, were able to find that app, you know. So those are things that are going, this is the way I look at it as an investigator. I don't stick myself into one lead and I try to follow things, but when I was going through that manifesto, he sounds a lot like somebody who had a mental break. They need to really stop. One thing they have to stop doing is saying there's no other threats. This guy acted alone. You can't determine that in 2 days.
Exactly.
You can't. There's no way to determine all the evidence that's out there, that's potentially out there in 2 days and say that. And I'm sick of that. It's going to get somebody killed eventually. They did the same thing with the Boston bombing. Yep. Immediately they caught the second brother and go on television. This was Boston that did this, and tell everybody you're free to move about. We got the second guy. How do they know there's not more? You know, I don't understand this thinking. They won't use the public as a force multiplier and give them wisdom and what to look for. And on the other hand, they tell them BS lies like this and say it's safe when they have no idea whether it is or not. This is one of the reasons why I left the Bureau.